you so much for joining me today. I'm super excited to kick off the Vault with you, our new series that looks at vaulting. And we're going to be vaulting family objects and the stories. And I am so excited to be doing this because honestly, I've been waiting to do this for years. And now that I've created Vaulted, it gives me the opportunity to actually do this and preserve your stories and our family stories and share them with my children. And I'm so excited. We're starting with Grandma Peggy and her beautiful rug that is behind you. Um, if you don't mind, can you just start by sharing where the rug is from? I have some things pulled up that I'm going to share, but I wanted you to at least talk about where Grandma Peggy was your mom,
Right.
right? Do you maybe want to talk about her and then just where the rug's from
Yeah,
briefly?
real briefly. So, she and my father, Jim Harden, were in the large animal drug business. So
Mm.
because of that, they became very acquainted with a lot of the reservations. And my mom always had a soft heart for just people in general. I mean, Peggy never knew a stranger.
Hmm.
And she became friends with a lot of people from the Navajo reservation and a lot of the Weavers.
And this is in Fort Collins, Colorado, correct? At the time, and this was their veterinary shop?
Yeah, they owned Valley Veterinary Supply in Fort Collins, Colorado, but they shipped to 48 different states.
Oh, wow.
So they were a fairly significant enterprise. And, on another video, we'll talk about how they were very innovative in some of the things they did. Like we owned outside of the county courthouse the first copy machine ever, and people would come to watch copies being made because it was such an amazing thing.
Oh, wow.
But through this, she would go and do seminars sometimes in conjunction with Colorado State University on new products, new technologies, and they would take it to the reservations to help, because people who have a lot of animals don't just take them all to the vet. We have a dog or a cat, we take it to the vet. People in those circumstances have to take care of their own stuff. They do their own vaccinations, they do, the birthing, everything. So a lot of what she did was seminars. And so she got to know people, and she would go down to the Four Corners area, and she became very familiar with a lot of the people on the Navajo reservation. And they call themselves the Dene, by the way. If you ever hear that term,
Yep.
the Navajo don't call themselves Navajo, they call themselves Dene.
Mhm.
So she became friends, and one of her friends one day said to her, her rugs were costing her too much money because she was having to buy other wool from outside because the wool that she was trying to spin was splitting.
Well, so hold on before we get to that. So her friend was on the reservation,
Correct.
and she was one of the friends that actually made these super famous, what Dene or
Well,
Navajo
that
rugs. Correct?
these specific rugs are called Two Gray Hill rugs,
Yep.
and it's based on the name of the trading post.
Yep.
It's the Totalena or Two Gray
Yes.
Hill.
So pause there. I'm gonna play this quick video.
The Totalena Trading Post is located 1 hour north of Gallup, heart of the Navajo Nation. This trading post has been in existence since 1909 and helps in supporting the basin's community. There are over 100 active weavers that work in the Totalena Two Gray Hills style, half of which make their entire living weaving. The rugs are primarily woven with hand-spun sheep wool and are known for their natural colors, intricate design, and tight weft counts. A large, intricately woven rug can take up to a year on the loom and takes generational knowledge to complete.
rug you have, the weaver was Thelma Brown.
So Thelma Brown gave this to my mom, and I think I sent you a picture of Thelma with her rug and her mom. And her mom, Violet, is actually an award-winning rug weaver.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So she comes from a long history of weavers.
Hmm. And so this was a gift because it was a really interesting story, which kind of harkens to a lot of issues I think we see in the world with people on the ground seeing that there is an issue going on and then figuring out how to escalate that issue into government to get them to kind of acknowledge and address things that are going on. So I thought this was such an interesting story how she was gifted this rug. Do you mind sharing a bit of that story?
Sure. As I alluded to before, her friends started talking to her about how they were having to buy extra wool because the wool they were getting from their sheep was short and wasn't weaving correctly when they were trying to make the yarn. And my mom thought that was really interesting. So she took samples from a lot of the sheep and took it back to Colorado State University to the animal husbandry department. So CSU is a big veterinary school in Colorado and in our hometown of Fort Collins. They basically analyzed it and realized that there was too much inbreeding
Mhm.
and it was causing problems with the wool. So they needed to introduce some new rams into the herd to, kind of get the wool back up the way it should be. And unfortunately, these people just don't have money to run out and buy a $3,000 ram.
Mhm.
So she talked to the Indian Affairs, and they said, well, this is really, the agriculture department. I mean, she got bounced back and forth between a whole bunch of different departments, and it was always somebody else's problem. And she's not a kind of lady that would take no for an answer. So she got tired of, corresponding with all these bureaucrats. And much to my dad's chagrin, she got on an airplane and flew to Washington, D.C. without an appointment, without a contact, without anything. And she proceeded, all 6 feet of her with her cowboy boots and bouffant hair and cowboy hat, to walk up and down the halls of Congress and the Senate. And she would talk to anybody and everybody who she could speak to and tell them about what was happening.
Oh,
And I think they finally decided that she wasn't going away. So they called some kind of emergency session and found funding to buy some Rambouillet sheep for the Navajo.
oh my gosh. That sounds like a relative of ours.
Yeah, yeah. But she was gifted this by the tribe and Thelma and her family for the work she did. And it's considered, she really felt bad because it's a very expensive piece and it's a very intricate, beautiful piece. And she didn't really want to take it, but it's actually considered an insult if you don't accept the gift.
Hmm.
But I think she countered that by buying a whole bunch more rugs from other weavers so that she actually did help them out.
Oh, I love that story. I'm so excited. This is our first vault
Yeah.
of our family heirlooms in the series. This is, it's funny. I've seen that rug, most of my life, and knowing the story behind it and making sure my brothers and everybody else knows the story. I'm just so excited to be able to do this with you. So thank you so much for sharing. Is there anything else you wanna share before we sign off?
Well, I just would like to say that anybody who's interested in the Navajos, it's a very beautiful culture with a
Mm.
lot of beautiful traditions, and I would encourage people to learn more about the Navajo.
Well, thank you so much for the time. I'm looking forward to doing this again soon with more of our family treasures.
Thank you.